Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the first of many episodes of the Ray White Bendigo Market Insights, Buyers, Tips and Tricks, and Sellers, and General Chit Chat. Today, joined by Harry Gadsden from Gadsden Finance. Harry, thanks for coming in.
No worries, mate. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
More than welcome, my friend. Harry, so what's your role, mate? What do you do in the finance industry?
Yeah, so I am a residential mortgage broker, so I deal all things when obviously buyers do come to us to seek finance approval, get their finance sorted before they actually hit the market.
Yep.
So ideally, we would like to get our hands on customers before they go and see you and all your crew and start making offers on homes. And so with 9 years experience now with banking and mortgage finance industry, it's enough experience to get everyone on the right track.
Absolutely, mate. That's good. And so you do obviously anyone looking to buy, and also obviously another big part of it would be all your refinancing stuff as well too, which keeps you pretty busy.
Yeah, most definitely. Obviously, we love to keep in touch with existing clients when we got a pretty large book of customers and stuff there. So we need to make sure that we do maintain existing loans, making sure they're well looked after on good rates and products that are really tailored to their needs.
Yeah, nice, mate. Exciting. And so I suppose, and we were talking about this a little bit before we jumped on, but I think it maybe sort of seems a little bit, it comes to second nature for some of us, but also a lot of people when they're looking at the idea of buying either their first home or buying a property, probably don't know where to start, or maybe even sometimes have a lot of knowledge. Do you find, you meet people or clients, potential customers that are a bit bamboozled or sort of are scared as to, the process of even looking at getting a loan, or obviously, with us buying a property? Is that pretty common, or do you find most people have got a pretty good knowledge these days?
Yeah, it's still fairly common. As spoken off air before, it's one thing that I kind of regret not having in my education system was a solid foundation of managing money and a bunch of other things that are lifelong lessons, except you're not really taught in the education system unless you do certain elective subjects. We still get a fair few people when they do inquire for finance originally, and as I said, we like to get our hands on clients before they do
start looking or getting
start
active.
Actually going making offers and getting active in the market. Simple reasons, we need to make sure they can actually qualify for what they're making offers
buy
on.
it and afford it. Service it.
And some people, as you said, they haven't had the education backing behind them, or it's something they only do maybe twice in a lifetime. They need to make sure they can afford things, and if they're not in a position to do things like that, we still find great pleasure in actually helping them money coach and saying, if we have a look at XYZ, can't afford to do this right now. However, if you were to tidy up a couple things here, this is what potential repayments could actually be. So if we were to put this in place and you start saving XYZ a fortnight, depending on their wage frequency and stuff like that as well,
they get a roadmap to when they might be in a position to buy a property of that sort of price point, or what they're sort of looking to go on to, kind of thing.
Exactly right. And that's where we do kind of find a bit of pleasure in it, as well as not only are we helping people buy homes, except we're helping people that aren't even ready to buy homes to get in the market there. And exactly right. Plan for the future to put them in a better homestead.
I think that's the important thing as well too. Like, as much as obviously as a sales agent or as a mortgage broker, I think sometimes people expect that we're always looking for like the now deal, or the deal that's going to happen today, tomorrow kind of thing. I think it's about sort of trying to help people build a relationship. So hopefully, if they're not quite ready just yet, they might when they are in, whether that's a couple of months or a couple of years, then hopefully we've sort of helped them to get into that position, and it sort of makes it easier when that time comes. So that's definitely helps make that process hopefully a bit more seamless for them, because as you said, some people might only buy a property or get a loan once in their life, or a couple of times in their life, and things might change in 20-30 years in comparison to when they did it last time as well. So
most definitely. And as you said, it's not something it's not like a now thing either. When we do actually take on clients, it'd be the same. It is a process. And a lot of time, some settlements even taking up to 3 to 4, even had some go 6 months long.
6 months, yeah.
So maintaining that customer relationship for that period as well. So it's not like a now deal. This is like and for most people, our biggest thing is the most important purchase of their life. It's their biggest chapter of their life for most people. We want to make sure we're there with them every step of the way.
Yeah, no, that's good, mate. And so with that, so when someone comes to, comes to see you, or I suppose is looking at the next move, and we often sometimes see it as well too, like people are thinking about their next property, or, they might need something bigger, they might need something smaller. And sometimes they, naturally, obviously, I suppose they want to go and have a look at some properties, or are curious to sort of what something might suit or not suit. But sometimes obviously you see people that might not be quite ready to pull the trigger or ready to buy, but they see something that they really like. So, the first step is obviously probably catching up with yourself, or catching up with a broker or someone to give them an idea on what's obviously possible, like you said. Like obviously pre-approval is something which is pretty common that you can get. Is it something that, like, should you do it? Do you have to do it? Are you better off just having a chat? Like what's your thoughts on that space, and what do you recommend?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's in regards to pre-approvals and stuff like that, it's not a necessity. We love to sit down with customers. We want to make sure, and we're going to do this with everyone, we're going to make sure they qualify for what they can afford. We'll tell them what their maximum borrow power is according to lender calculators, so we can give them an accurate answer.
Yeah.
And we can give them that accurate answer, and they can 9 times out of 10 take that with confidence.
Yeah.
When it comes down to pre-approvals, it's just a little bit of extra, almost like a certificate saying, I know for a fact I can
They're
get
signed
this
off
done.
on. I think it's a bit of a misconception in a lot of cases as well too. Sometimes we meet buyers and vendors as well too. Sellers think, they've got to have that pre-approval. You must have that obviously to submit an offer or sign
Exactly.
contracts. And it's not always the case, obviously. Like I suppose as long as they've got a pretty clear understanding, if they've, spoken with you and you've given them a sort of indication based on sort of what they sort of qualify for as available, that's pretty well in some cases obviously going to, still they're still going to be able to go through the process of buying something if they didn't have the pre-approval regardless.
Yeah, exactly. And we do, to be very transparent, we rarely do pre-approvals for the simple fact that most people are going to go through that process buying through property. Auctions are becoming more and more popular. When doing auctions and stuff like that, it is a pretty important thing to have that pre-approval. That way you can actually have that extra confidence and security, and you're going to have that. Most other properties, you don't really need the.
It's not a must-have. I think
it's
probably
not a must-have.
Breaking that, maybe sort of, I suppose, the misconception that people think that for those that out there that think they maybe have to have it, not necessarily. Again, it depends on their circumstances or plans. Best, obviously, first step or bet is to have a chat with yourself, have a chat with the broker, get a feel for what they're after, what their next plans are, and then figure out, I suppose, the next steps from there.
Yeah, exactly right. It's very important to go see, if it isn't a broker, at least see a bank and do get a general consensus of where you sit in terms of borrowing power. Every bank has their own different calculations and serviceability, so even if you do go to Bank A and they say, no, you can't afford that, Bank B might also be a good option, and they will say yes. So
that's funny as well. Like that's probably another big misconception I think I've seen over years in the past meeting people, as they say, I probably can't quite afford that property because the banks, said they'll only lend me this, and they've dealt with obviously one of the big banks for 20, 30, 40 years, and they've sort of, I suppose, they're a little bit tied to them because of that's who they've worked with in the past. But a lot of people or clients out there in the market don't realize that sometimes it's just because one bank has said X, obviously doesn't mean that another one won't lend you more or less or at a different rate. That's obviously the case. You see that really often.
Yeah, definitely. We do get a lot of people, as you said, they're with 9 times out of 10 they're with the big four.
Yeah. I've been banking with them for 40 years.
Yeah, yeah, exactly right there. And it's kind of generational,
Yeah,
like you sit
100%.
there. My first bank account was with NAB. That's just because it's where mum and dad banked.
Exactly right. Yeah.
and then you just keep going to that same branch. And
Yeah.
those big four banks, they got branches in all the major towns
They
and
love
cities.
to get you to keep coming back, isn't it? That's
exactly
secret.
right. So they're in your face all the time. They're called the big four for a reason. They have so much of the market share.
Yeah.
They hold between 65-75% of the market share in terms of mortgage lending.
3/4.
So, and it has actually, I believe, come down a little bit. However, at the same time, the reason they have been so big is because they're everywhere in your face. It's generational. You've got a few banks, Macquarie Bank being one of the fastest growing banks in Australia the last couple of years.
Yep.
And their motto, don't quote me on it exactly, except they're designed for customers but built for brokers.
Yeah.
They really encourage you to deal with a broker instead.
Yeah.
And the reason being, we've got access to over 60 different lenders. If they're not the right one for you, we'll be able to find a tailored need suited to our customers' requirements. Yeah.
But probably the big, I suppose, note for people out there that maybe if they, I suppose, have a bit of a tie to, to one bank, or maybe haven't had as much luck even trying to get a loan with a certain bank, obviously, is that certainly a broker or someone like yourself is a great option or next port of call, because there's every chance that there's probably, you'd be able to find the solution to the problem if they need to try and lend a bit more or get a bit more of a sharper rate or something like that. That's massive value behind, obviously, what the service that you guys offer.
Yeah, exactly. And even going through calculators, we can see there's probably anywhere from a 30 to 50K range between
what do they lend?
the bottom the bottom lender and the top lender. So even if you are falling short,
it's massive amount
with one. And to be honest, it's sometimes with some you do get high risk lenders that take on even more. The reason they do that is because they might have a high interest rate, except they'll take the high risk customers.
And that's sometimes, like, I suppose as well too, it depends on what someone needs with their purchase or with their finance. Like we often, we sort of see, particularly in the marketplace now, which we'll talk about, a little bit more of an overview later. It's getting more competitive. Buyers are starting to miss out. First home buyers, lots of investor activity, and sometimes buyers are obviously, I suppose, they're capped at a certain level based on their pre-approval or the indication as to what they're been given by, might be the bank that they're working with directly or a broker. But, if they're, let's say most people might be spending $500,000, $500,000 in Bendigo on average at the moment on a property, and if they're missing out, each time, 30 to 50 grand, like that's 5 to 10% obviously of that purchase price. Probably could be the difference between them buying something sooner or keeping on missing out if they can assess their options with other banks, if there's that much of a difference, obviously. So second opinion really would help, obviously, for some people.
Yeah, most definitely. And it's a great point that you raised there, because a lot of people, as you said, and as we touched on earlier, they're dealing with their generational bank that they've been with for a while. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to be able to get a cheaper rate and high borrowing power with other lenders.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't otherwise know if they didn't sort of reach out or look at other options, obviously.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. Something we were talking about before, mate, obviously, so I suppose we've broken down a little bit of the misconception around, pre-approval and qualified, obviously, depending on the circumstances. We spoke about auction a little bit before, which we're doing a bit more. We sort of do quite a bit of auction in Bendigo and one of the market leaders in that space. I think, again, we come across a lot of the time, like people think that they've got to, when they are bidding, obviously, and when you bid at auction, bidding at an unconditional level, people sometimes think that they can't get a loan or that they have to be rocking up with a briefcase full of cash on the day. And I tell them, don't bring your briefcase. It's okay. You can still lend.
Yeah.
But obviously there's a bit more involved in it, and they've got to have their ducks in a row. That's fair to say, obviously, if they are lending.
Yeah, most definitely. You've pretty much hit the nail on the head. Like as long as they have their ducks in a row, it's it's very funny the way you said it. Like they don't have to rock up with a briefcase full of cash, and a lot of people think that with auctions because it's an old school method that's been around for years and years, and that's just the way that obviously the pre-approval helps. We want to make sure you've got that pre-approval, you've got that security to guarantee that, hey, this is my limit. I know I can keep bidding until I hit that, until you hit the bit you're comfortable with. As a broker, we're always going to say, this is what your actual maximum borrow power is, your capacity. We don't always recommend people reach that capacity.
Yeah, of course.
The main reason for us is it would be irresponsible lending. We're putting them in a position where if they were to max out their borrowing power at 500,000 as an example, they might be in a position in 2 years' time if the rates go up another 0.5%.
It's tougher.
Where they're in financial hardship. And the big thing for us, like, not only would we feel terrible that we put our clients in that position, but we want to make sure that they're never going to be in that position where they're going to have to sell their house and relocate, downsize, or go back to renting.
Yep. Yeah. It's the but I think the keynote obviously is being able to have that confidence for someone, obviously, when you're bidding at auction. Certainly, obviously, you can still be lending and still borrowing. Obviously, you've just got to be confident in your circumstances or have that pre-approval in place. So I suppose if you're looking to buy a property and you see something coming along auction, don't feel as though you've got to look for that briefcase. You don't need to necessarily have to have it. Maybe just go and see have a chat and see get some documents in order and see what's possible for their circumstances, and they can still potentially pursue the property if they wanted to.
Yeah, spot on.
Yeah, 100%, mate. So maybe some general sort of insights as to what you're seeing in the market. Obviously, the like lending's been really interesting, or the finance sector's been really interesting this year in comparison to like this time last year with interest rates. Well, they've been up, down, and sideways probably realistically. Some of the banks are starting to get a bit more competitive with their rates. What's sort of the average or a pretty sharp rate at the moment on average you're seeing at the moment?
Yeah, it's a good question with most banks. And as I said, we've got access to over 60 lenders. And that's a really good thing. We don't just have access to the big four, those ones you see in front of you on the streets and on the TVs and stuff. We got that many to look at. I'd say a really good rate at the moment, sharp as 5.34. Some even going possibly a touch lower depending. Some banks have strict requirements. They might be like a specialist lender for a certain industry.
Yep.
And they really look after those people in that industry. With most banks, you might find there might be a 0.4% difference between some of the best and some of the worst.
Yeah.
Those worst ones compared to the best ones on your typical, let's say a $500,000, $500,000 loan.
Yep.
It might only be anywhere from a $30 to $60 difference each month. Yeah. In terms of repayments.
Yeah. So not a massive amount really when you think about it, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not a huge difference, but when you consider not only repayments, except the interest you're getting charged each month as well, that's when it will start to add up. So anything around that 5.39, which is where most really good lenders are sitting at the moment. Anything in the 5.4s and 5s are generally pretty good.
Yep.
I'd say if you're sitting anywhere around a 5.6, 5.7, there's definitely...
Tell your bank where to go and give you a call.
Exactly right. There's definitely better offers out there. Doesn't hurt to just get in touch with a local broker and go from there. Just find out. There's no shame in going and asking. We're a fee-free service. We don't charge clients a fee at any stage. Yeah. We get paid by the banks. So it's as simple as that. You can sit down, chew our ear off for 12 hours straight and decide not to use us and we still don't get paid for it. So it's a rewarding industry in the sense that, we find great reward in helping you. And once we do... saving. Yeah, so
it's a funny concept, and I don't know. I saw like this a quick reel the other day, and it was some bloke talking about sort of the concept of refinancing, and he called it the old bank switcheroo. Like you just, you're with one bank for however many years, and then obviously by going to a broker and then just asking if there's a bank that'll offer them a better rate, they'll say, oh, yep, okay, we'll swap it over, and you'll save X amount, whatever, and then after a certain amount of years, they'll get it back, and the bank just pays you. Like it's a crazy concept, isn't it? But there's so much money that can be saved out there by literally just asking the question and obviously using like the expertise of yourself, and it costs them absolutely nothing to do it.
Yeah, exactly right. And as you said, like going from bank to bank, there's also offers out there. You get cashback offers, which are really handy. Some banks do have them. They might be like seasonal. So they might chuck it out for a 2-month offer. So if you refinance, if you submit a loan between
X and Y, this month and this month,
A and B, and it settles between C and D, then
give you a couple of grand,
$3,000 cashback.
Perfect.
And that covers typically, you might have about $500 worth of or anywhere from 500 to 800 in refinance costs. So we want to make sure at the same time, a lot of people see
It's worthwhile.
cashback offers of 1,500.
Yeah.
By the time they go to all that effort to do so, it's
Might not be
you're
worth it.
really only getting $500 to $800 cash in your pocket. Because you got to pay to discharge your title from an existing bank, application fees at the new bank. So you really got to weigh that up. That's where, as you said, our expertise can help out with that. We can guide people through that process and make sure it is worth it. And it's a really good position to be in, I guess.
100%. It's it's interesting when all the different offers that they roll out with cashbacks and rates and stuff. And I think people often, I suppose, maybe get obsessed with that rate number as well too when they're looking at finance and options and stuff. But I guess there's so many other things to consider with there's so many other things that can vary and variables with it all. Yeah,
exactly. It's not always doom and gloom about the interest rate. Whenever we have clients in, we always propose minimum 4 different products to them. And every bank has their own different niches as well. So we get some banks that are really great for self-employed customers. Some are really great for your standard wages, or most of them, because that's what most of the majority of the market's in. But every bank has their own niches. Everyone has their own credit policy with different little ins and outs. So it's not always about that interest rate, except it does help guide us. Except at the end of the day, we're there to serve the customer. So we make sure that exactly what they're after, they're getting a tailored product suited to their requirements.
100%. One of the things talking before about, we were talking obviously conditional and unconditional, mate. I suppose maybe again I think we sort of sometimes assume people know what that process looks like of not just getting the loan, but also buying a property. What does it look like in your space and my space, obviously, from, signing a contract to actually the house selling. So if they are getting a loan, what can someone expect, through that process? How long does it take? So someone's bought a house off me for $500,000. They've signed the contract of sale, conditionally, obviously. It's subject to finance. How long would they expect to need to get the approval? Is there much more that what's involved and expected of them to pop the sold sticker up into the champagne and get the social media photo that everyone gets excited about? That's what we're all trying to get, isn't it? But what happens in between?
It is a long process, and there is a lot involved. Actually, it's probably the more rewarding side of it, and also the pain side of it is the countless phone calls, all the data you've got to go through. Obviously, lodging with the bank. Every bank has their own different SLAs. So some of them are still out to 10 days for full approval. Some of them are as quick as 8 hours. So it's, depending on which one we use, it really varies that finance timeline. Typically what I usually recommend to clients when they do go to sign a contract and we talk to their solicitors and legal team, usually recommends let's go straight for the worst case scenario, prepare for the worst, hope for the best, which 9 times out of 10 is a great idea, because we want to say 14 to 21 days for a finance clause. It gives us enough time that, let's say the first bank says no, which we hope never happens, but let's say they say no because a little credit policy thing that they don't agree with, that's fine. We've still got another 10 days now to get something else. We've already got all the data in the system, so we just change a lender, pick another one that's going to work for them. So we've got that time to amend things and move from there. Whereas, a lot of the time with the application process, obviously our main thing is to look after the finance, except also communicate with the legal representatives the whole way through to make sure they're up to date. If we're approaching that finance clause and we haven't got approval, we need to make sure we keep them in the loop. So that
ask for more time or tell them we're expecting it soon.
Exactly right. So typically once contracts signed, so once we've got fully executed contracts, we can then lodge the application as well as order the valuation on the property. So once we've got that, that's all submitted to the bank. Now it depends on their SLAs to how long a assessor picks that file up. But once they do, it typically takes them a few hours to a day at times to get back to us with a response.
Which will be yes or no, or can you clarify this kind of thing?
Exactly right. In the ideal world, we hope every lender comes back to us with a yes or a no straight away. 9 times out of 10, it's always a conditional approval. So
Yep.
that being they've requested additional information
Yep.
to just clarify. There might be a couple of things that they're uncertain of, or they've seen something in the bank statement, so they just want to clarify. Might be a reoccurring transfer to, you know, a mate or something like that, or a family member, or they might have someone boarding in with them.
Yep.
So they want to clarify some
All the
transactions
nitty-gritties.
as an example. So,
Yep.
As I said, 9 times out of 10, that's typically what happens.
Yep.
Except we'd love to just get unconditional straight away.
Yep.
Save everyone a lot of time.
Of course.
You guys can chuck that sold sticker up sooner.
Happy days. Yeah.
Once we send through the additional information, it's typically a few days until that goes back in the queue, back at the bottom of the queue to
To be signed off.
to go back to the assessor.
Yeah.
So
you're seeing most deals or finance approvals obviously are sort of falling in line with that 14 days sort of finance clause with the contracts. Mostly, sometimes pushes out a bit more, worst case scenario, but most of the banks, unless they're at the longer side of the time frames, are doing reasonable in the time to pick it up and get it ticked off, as long as there's not too many complications.
Yeah, most definitely. It's one that's I usually find we can still get approval done with most banks in less than a week.
Yep.
It depends on the
Clients just got to get you all the information in a timely manner, make sure they're on the ball, and you've just got to send it over.
And that's why it's so important that, as we spoke about earlier, is that we want to get clients in to pre-qualify them.
Yep.
Because when we do that, we've already got all their data. So as soon as they sign the contract with yourself, and the legal team forwards on the contract to sale to us, we've got everything prepped in the system. We just hit the button and send it to the bank. That way, as soon as it's signed, we've got a full 14 days for the bank to go through it.
Yep.
We still get the occasional, hey, I've just signed this contract for a house on the weekend.
Can you please help me get a loan
now? Can you
now?
please help me? And we're like, whoa.
Where did you come from?
Who are you?
But absolutely, of course. Yeah.
It's like we definitely help you out. Kind of throw me in the deep end here.
Yeah.
So you still get that occasionally.
And it can still all come together nicely, but it's
it still comes together very nicely in the end. It's just
a bit more of a rush sometimes.
We do like a heads up.
Don't be that person though. Everyone out there, don't do anything too last minute. Give Harry a brief heads up before you buy the house, ideally, so everyone's on the same page.
Exactly right. We'd love to sit down and have a chat and guide you through the whole process before you even get to that stage.
Yeah, very good. I reckon that's pretty much it. I think we're seeing, I mean, to cap it off, mate, if anyone's thinking about, I suppose, finance needs, it's probably better off having a chat with you before signing that contract straight away. The process can be pretty seamless with the right help and with the right guidance. The value behind pre-approval, and obviously, or at least having an initial chat. Bidding at auction, you don't need that briefcase full of cash, but just get your ducks in a row. And don't be afraid to ask the question about the bank and rates and stuff. Do a bank switcheroo or refinance every now and then. You might save yourself $1 or get a cash back.
Yeah, exactly right. No, it was very good having a chat, mate. It's always welcome to offer a little bit of expertise where needed. Obviously great to catch up with you every now and again as well.
No worries at all, mate. Thanks for tuning in, guys, for another first of many market insights, tips and buyers, tips and sellers, and a bit of chit chat and chin wagon. And we'll catch you for the next one.